deans and heads of departments gathered here, Professor Ebenezer Malcolm, Pro-Vice Chancellor of the School, Pro-Vice Chancellor of the Ghana Telecommunication University, Dr. Margaret Korosik, Dean of Online Teaching and Digital Education at the University of Leeds, UK, Mr. Sagib Nazar, CEO of People's Pension Trust and FinTech entrepreneur, Dr. Kim Welch, Principal International Instructional Designer and Trainer at Arizona State University, Dr. Michael Galenga, who joins us in the virtual space and is the Director for the Center for Research Education at the University of Edinburgh, Dr. Karen Roseman, Head of Digital Learning Innovation Center at the University of West Indies, who is here, our brother Berthold Kobe Winkler, famously known as Wodimaya, who got us dozens of lessons yesterday in the evening from 4 p.m. to 7 here in this auditorium. Engineer Felix Atrim, CEO and Executive Chairman of FIDEMS Group, who is a collaborator of this very unique conference by this university. Niv Gross, the VP Technology and Information Systems Center for Educational Technology in Israel. We're glad to have you. All protocols duly observed. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed an honor and obviously a privilege to welcome you to yet another celebration of our higher level e-learning international conference here at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I'm here to share with you the purpose of the conference and the expected outputs of this very unique international conference. And I'm glad to say that this marks the third international e-learning conference organized by the e-learning center and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. We are not here by coincidence. We are here because we believe that the digital revolution must not leave education behind, and that education in turn must not leave anyone behind. The digital era is not only knocking at our doors, in fact, it has already entered. And the question before us is no longer whether we should change, but how we must lead the change, and for whom. And that is why this year's theme, Transforming Education Through Responsible Innovation and Inclusion in the Digital Era, could not be more timely or urgent. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of the conference. The conference was conceived as a strategic convergence, a space for reflection, reimagination, and redirection. Its purpose is to engage, equip, and empower. So firstly, we gather here to learn to survive, and learn to promote the ever-evolving digital ecosystem. This conference is more than an event. It is, in fact, a global classroom where the blackboard has become the screens that we will be watching from, and the textbooks has evolved into a dynamic digital ecosystem. From Ghana to Leeds, from Trinidad, Tobago to Edinburgh, we are bringing together thinkers, educators, and trailblazers to exchange transformative ideas on how technology is redefining the educational experience, not just in elite lectures, like an elite lecture hall, but in the most remotest corner of our communities. But our purpose goes beyond celebrating modernization. We are here to explore how technology can be used not merely for progress, but for meaningful transformation. So for instance, how do we ensure that virtual biology lab can serve a student in rural senior high school just as effectively as the one in a well-resourced urban classroom in Accra or in Kumasi? What bold policies, innovative solutions, and collaborative partnership must we build to make this level of equity possible? I think that this gathering challenges us to think deeply, act deliberately, and then commit collectively to make sure that digital learning reaches everyone, everywhere, with the impact that is needed and the purpose. Secondly, this conference is meant to unpack the responsible innovations, how it looks like in terms of its practical reality. It invites us to move beyond buzzwords that floods the system in this technology era and confront the critical questions that shapes the future of education in Africa. Our digital platform must be inclusive of learners with disabilities. The question is, are we safeguarding students' data and data privacy as we expand our e-learning systems? Are we equipping educators, not just with tools, but with the necessary training and digital literacy to use these tools effectively? These are not abstract and futuristic concerns. They are present, everyday realities faced by schools, universities, and education ministries across the continent. And that is why we have gathered here, to challenge the status quo, to redefine what it means to innovate responsibly. And then, dear Chair, thirdly, the purpose of this conference. We are here to bring clarity to the word inclusion. In the context of digital transformation, inclusion is not a luxury. It is a necessity. We cannot meaningfully discuss the future of education if large groups of learners remain disconnected due to language barriers, financial constraints, and lack of infrastructure. In my opinion, true inclusion demands that we design systems which acknowledges and respond to the rich diversity of learners that we have. And this means that learning content could be more multilingual than how we see it, could be more mobile friendly, could be more flexible, and above all, very affordable. I thought students would clap for this one. Dear Pro-Vice-Chancellor, the expected outputs of this conference. So what do we intend to achieve through this conference? Beyond the exchange of ideas, this gathering is designed to produce tangible, actionable outcomes that will shape the digital education landscape in Ghana and beyond. First, we aim to develop a roadmap for change. By the close of the conference, we expect to produce a concrete framework and strategic roadmap that schools, universities, and government agencies can adopt to guide the responsible integration of digital tools. These roadmaps will be informed by our panel discussions, expert presentations, and real-world institutional case studies that will be shared throughout the various sections. Secondly, we will mark a significant milestone with the launch of the KNUST e-learning journal. This journal will serve as a dedicated scholarly platform focused on digital learning within the African context. It will feature evidence-based practice, impactful research, and success stories that can inform both academic institutions and policymakers in their approach to e-learning practice. Another critical outcome of this conference is capacity building. Through the hands-on workshops, interactive forums, and practical sections, we target that this conference will empower educators, administrators, and stakeholders with essential skills in digital pedagogy, instructional design, and the use of educational technologies and content development. The objective is not just to create awareness, but to strengthen the capacity for implementation and innovation on the ground. Moreover, we expect to foster collaboration and networking in this conference. We anticipate the emergence of new partnerships between investees, edtech companies, ministries, and developers, as well as between Ghanaian institutions and the global academic community. And these connections will lead to a very vital grounds for co-creating solutions that are very relevant and scalable and rooted in local realities and context realities. Finally, dear Chair, we will continue. We will, in this conference, outline the key metrics for digital inclusion. How will we measure, track, and improve it? These discussions will feed into policy briefs that will compile for national and regional stakeholders. By way of conclusion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this conference is not merely an annual ritual. It's a symbol of our collective vision to transform education meaningfully and equitably. We are standing at the intersection of urgency and possibility. And the future of education is not 20 years away. It is already here. If we fail to make innovations responsible, we risk turning technology into a total exclusion tool. If we ignore inclusion, we fail the very people education is meant to serve. But if we innovate with purpose, plan, and then we innovate with empathy and implement with integrity, then I believe that we will not only transform how education works, we will transform what education means. So I humbly call on all of us to let this conference mark the beginning of a renewed commitment to the future where learners are not forgotten, no teacher is left behind, and no region is locked out of the digital promise. Dear Chair, I want to thank you very much, and may this conference inspire action, collaboration, and real transformation. May God bless us all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for Prof. Asante. Vice Chancellor, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, now that we know the purpose of this gathering, and we are all excited about the expected outcomes and outputs, I would like all of us with a resounding applause, representing our Vice Chancellor, Professor Mrs. Rita Akosua-Dixon, give the podium now to our Pro-VC, Professor David Asamoah. Please, let's give him a round of applause.
Good morning to you all. So I will crave your indulgence to stand on the existing protocols set by our Director of E-Learning. It is my honor and privilege as the Pro-Vice Chancellor of KNUST to deliver this address on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Mrs. Rita Akosua-Dixon, who due to a very pressing national engagement could not be with us in person today. However, she has asked that I convey her warm regards and heartfelt appreciation to all gathered in this conference. I'll now present her speech exactly as prepared. It is with immense joy and deep sense of responsibility that I stand before you today to welcome all of you to this auspicious gathering, the third E-Learning International Conference, here on the beautiful campus of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I'm very pleased that we have gathered once again under a theme that is so crucial to the times in which we live, transforming education through responsible innovation and inclusion in the digital era. This conference is more than an academic convening. It is a bold statement, a call to action, to rethink, reimagine, a call to action to rethink, reimagine, and re-engineer the way education is delivered and experienced across the globe, especially in Africa. This conference has over the years evolved into a landmark platform for igniting critical conversation around the future of education, particularly through the lens of digital transformation. The world is changing rapidly. Technological advancements are reconfiguring every facet of life, from how we communicate to how we govern, and especially how we teach and learn. In this unfolding digital era, we are faced with a singular question. How do we ensure that the innovation we so fervently embrace remains rooted in responsibility and inclusivity? Ladies and gentlemen, let me be clear. This is not a rhetorical question. It is a clarion call. It is a demand for reflection and action. And it is one that KNUST has taken up with unyielding resolve. Now let's look at the digital shift, which is a necessary revolution. The COVID-19 pandemic served as a catalyst for change in many sectors, but none more so than education. When the pandemic struck, institutions across the globe, including our own, were confronted with an unprecedented disruption to traditional teaching and learning systems. But in that challenge, we found an opportunity to reimagine education. Here at KNUST, we pivoted with purpose. We expanded our virtual learning environment, digitalized our course content, and trained our faculty to deliver instruction using digital tools. We moved swiftly but strategically, ensuring that our shift to online learning was not a stopgap solution, but a springboard for long-term transformation. Our e-learning center, with its dedicated leadership and committed technical team, played a pivotal role in ensuring that academic activities continue with minimal disruption. Today, over 90% of our undergraduate and postgraduate courses have an online component. We are offering massive open online courses, running hybrid seminars, and integrating e-portfolios into our assessment frameworks. Now we look at responsible innovation, grounding technology in ethics and equity. Innovation, however, must be tethered to responsibility. As we integrate artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data analytics into our pedagogical methods, we must also ask, are we protecting student data? Are we designing systems that accommodate neurodiverse knowledge? Are we ensuring our content reflects the cultural context of our students? One practical example of our commitment to inclusion in education is our engagement in international knowledge exchange on inclusive pedagogy, drawing insights from institutions such as the Arizona State University, University of Leeds, and University of West Indies. These engagements inspire faculty development initiatives aimed at designing and delivering content that meets the needs of diverse learners, including students with disabilities. Through such efforts, we are embedding empathy, accessibility, and ethics into our digital transformation journey. Our innovation labs here at KNUST are not merely centers of experimentation, they are engines of purpose-driven problem solving. Recently, a group of final year engineering students embarked on the design of a low-cost solar-powered tablet intended to support teaching and learning in underserved rural communities. Equipped with preloaded syllabus content and offline access to educational videos, this prototype has generated interest for pilot deployment in selected basic schools across Ahafo and Savannah regions. Projects like these reaffirm our belief that innovation must be inclusive, relevant, and community-focused. Ladies and gentlemen, digital transformation is not simply about deploying technology. It is about ensuring that no one is left behind. In Ghana, and indeed across many parts of Africa, we continue to grapple with stark inequalities in access to internet, electricity, and digital literacy. Here in KNUST, we are responding to this by decentralizing access. Through our mobile compatible learning management system, students can access lectures even on low-end smartphones. In collaboration with MTN Ghana and Telecel Ghana, we have negotiated zero-rated access to LMS, ensuring that students can log in without using their mobile data. This has dramatically improved engagement, especially for students in rural and peri-urban areas. We also recognize that digital literacy is foundational. That is why we have launched the Digital Scholar Initiative, which provides first-year students with mandatory orientation in digital tools, academic integrity in online spaces, and cyber hygiene. Now let's look at capacity building for faculty and administrative staff. The success of any digital transformation effort depends largely on the people driving it. Faculty members are at the heart of this transformation. To this end, we have invested heavily in capacity building. Our e-learning center regularly organizes workshops on Moodle, Microsoft Teams, AI in education, and digital assessment tools. In 2024 alone, over 2,000 teaching staff participated in these workshops. And this year, I'm proud to announce that about 2,500 staff have been trained. Feedback from these engagements shows a growing confidence and a willingness among our lecturers to embrace digital platforms. We have also extended training to our administrative and support staff, ensuring that our entire ecosystem is digitally ready. Now we look at research and innovation in digital education. KNUST is not only a consumer of digital tools, but also a generator of knowledge. Our researchers are conducting cutting-edge studies on the impact of digital learning on student outcomes, the effectiveness of gamified content, and the use of virtual reality in science education. We are harnessing emerging technologies to transform teaching and learning across disciplines. Our newly launched state-of-the-art virtual reality studios, developed in collaboration with South Dakota State University, provide immersive experiences that enrich classroom learning. These facilities are being explored by departments such as architecture, where students can visualize and interact with complex structural designs in three-dimensional space. Meanwhile, in the College of Health Sciences, simulation labs and upgraded physiology facilities are enhancing clinical training for medical and nursing students. These tools allow for realistic hands-on practice in controlled environments before students encounter real-life cases. By embedding such innovations into our academic fabric, we are preparing students for the demands of a technologically driven professional landscape. Now let's look at our global partnerships, expanding our horizons. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we in KNUST recognize that meaningful transformation in education requires a purposeful collaboration. Our international partners continue to play a vital role in our digital learning journey. Through the DAAD-funded Access Program, we have worked closely with institutions such as the University of Leipzig to enhance employability-driven curriculum design, digital skills training, and virtual learning exchange. Additionally, our engagement with global stakeholders, including institutions like the Technical University of Munich, continues to shape conversations around e-learning innovation. Locally, we are also advancing the development of open educational resources through our institutional OER platform, empowering faculty to create and share free, accessible learning content. These resources support contextualized teaching and expand learning access across the continent. Such efforts reflects our broader vision, and that is building a learning ecosystem where collaboration fuels innovation and educational equity. On policy regulation and institutional frameworks, None of these transformations would be sustainable without strong institutional frameworks. We have developed a comprehensive e-learning policy that outlines our digital teaching and learning strategies, content development protocols, data governance, and quality assurance standards. This policy is reviewed annually and aligns with national and international benchmarks. We are also working closely with the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, and the Ministry of Communication and Digital Technology to ensure that our efforts align with national digital transformation goals. Now, a call to collective action. Let me reiterate that the future of education is not just digital, it is human-centered, inclusive, and responsible. Technology must serve people, not the other way around. I call on our sister institutions, our partners in industry, in policymakers, innovators, and founders to work hand in hand with us. Let us commit to building a future where education is not constrained by geography, gender, or income level, a future where every student, regardless of background, has a fair shot at learning, growing, and thriving. Let us ensure that our innovation does not create new inequalities. Let us pursue transformation that leaves no learner behind. Let us inspire a generation of educators and students to embrace change, not with fear, but with creativity and courage. In conclusion, as I draw to a close, permit me to say a big congratulations to the management of the KNUST E-Learning Center led by Professor Eric Apau Asante. The organizing committee of the E-Learning Week celebration, staff, volunteers, and all who played a crucial role in this year's event. Ladies and gentlemen, I am confident that this conference will spark ideas, foster collaboration, and set in motion the next wave of responsible and inclusive innovations in education. As we learn from one another and build new alliances, let us remember that we are co-authors of the story of Africa's educational renaissance. May this gathering be the fertile ground upon which bold ideas are planted and nurtured. May our deliberations be rich and our resolve be unshakable. Together, let us lead the charge into a future where digital education transforms not only minds but entire societies. Thank you, and may God richly bless us all. Akwaba, welcome, and let the conference begin.
Well, let's give another round of applause to our Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor David Asamoah. Thank you very much, Pro-VC. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, would like to share with you the story of E-Learning Center. If you can direct our attention to our screens for 5 minutes, enjoy our journey.
E-learning. What comes to mind? Maybe laptops, maybe students in labs, maybe strong internet and smart classrooms. But here, it means more. It means learning with or without the perfect setup. It means reaching students wherever they are with whatever they have. It means making room for those who never thought they could learn this way. This is a story about technology and people. At KNUST, we've listened. Before entering the university, some students told us they didn't have computers. Others said they studied with no internet. Still, they showed up, learned, and passed. We knew we had to do something. So we started building, not just facilities, but chances. Chances to learn, to teach, and to grow. At the KNUST E-Learning Center, that is what we do. We support online teaching, we support online learning, and we keep asking, how can we make digital education work for everyone? In the first half of 2025, the KNUST E-Learning Center trained both local and international students, lecturers from different faculties, and tutors from affiliated institutions. Sessions covered how to use the KNUST Learning Management System, online item writing, instructor presence, and supporting online student success. Digital literacy training was delivered to first-year students, graduate assistants, and teaching assistants. The center also partnered with the Commonwealth and UNESCO to promote digital inclusion. Exams were conducted online university-wide. This is a step in digital assessment. We received visitors from around the world. University of Seychelles, University of Tsukuba, Japan, Technical University of Munich, University of South Dakota, Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Training Center, and AFOS Foundation. They came to learn and we shared. But we are not just a building. We are a team. At the heart of the center are people doing the work.
The KNUST E-Learning Center was born out of necessity, but driven by vision. It was a strategic intervention by management of KNUST under the distinguished Chancellorship of His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei II and the visionary leadership of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Rita Akosua-Dickson, to reposition the university as an epicenter of science and technology in the digital age. So as a center, we work closely with all units of the university to support the implementation of management's digitalization agenda. So for example, with the Institute of Distance Learning, IDL, we collaborate to deliver the online component of the academic mandates. That's 50% online and 50% in person for students. With the library, we partner in the creation and curation of digital learning resources for wider access. And with the University Information and Technology Services, we draw from the infrastructure backbone that empowers our digital ecosystem and our digital agenda. With the Center for Innovations and Capacity Building, we collaborate to run blended and fully online short certificate courses. So collectively, we are building a unified, technology-driven academic environment that responds to the ever-evolving needs of learners and educators alike. We did not just want to respond to a crisis in COVID, but we wanted to lead a revolution in teaching and learning. So our why is simple. No learner should be left behind, and no educator should be under-equipped to teach in this digital age. So from our main campus here at KNUST to the remote corners of Ghana and even across the borders of our country, our digital learning interventions, we believe, have empowered thousands of people, whether through the virtual classrooms, that's our learning management system, or through our capacity building initiatives, or through our international partnerships and the like. The ripple effects of our work have been much felt far and wide. Our blended learning efforts as a center translates in our use of our smart learning classroom at the various lecture rooms at the various colleges. And today, the KNUST Learning Center stands as a benchmark for excellence in digital education in Ghana and across Africa. Our investment in digital infrastructure, instructional design, faculty training, and inclusion has placed us at the forefront of higher education and innovation in our sub-region. And we think that we are not just participating in the future of education, but we are shaping it.
Beyond the classroom, we also support administrative functions and knowledge sharing through digital platforms, making the entire academic experience more connected and efficient. The center is increasingly seen as a hub for digital literacy and skills development, not just for KNUST, but for society at large. We have conducted various training programs for external stakeholders, ranging from industry professionals to members of the local community, helping them build capacity in digital teaching, e-learning content development, and digital tools. Through partnership and outreach, we are contributing to a digitally empowered society and supporting the broader national development agenda. What drives our success is the strong collaboration between the center, the university community, and our partners. Personally, I find great joy in working behind the scenes to support this teamwork and seeing the positive outcomes we achieve together. I encourage everyone to engage with us and explore how digital learning can open opportunities for teaching, learning, and personal development.
The Instructional Design Unit core duties. Number 1 is to support KNUST's transformation agenda across all 6 colleges. Thus, the unit serves as the bridge between academic content and digital engagement. 2 is to coordinate content development and pedagogical design of all our fully online and blended courses at KNUST. By this, the unit ensures that content created is not only digitized, but also designed for learning impact.
At the KNUST E-Learning Center, I oversee a dynamic team committed to ensuring the smooth operation and continuous support of e-learning services across the university. Our unit provides 3 key services. 1. E-learning support services, where we assist both faculty and students in navigating the virtual learning environment. We have a call center offering timely help desk support for platform access, course-related issues, and general inquiries. 3. A video production unit and live class support, where we facilitate quality content delivery through pre-recorded and real-time sessions. To deliver these services effectively, I work closely with 5 major sections under the service support unit. The first section is the support center.
Our primary mandate is to provide online assistance to students, faculty members, and the wider university community in support of their day-to-day administrative and academic activities.
The second is the immersive learning and pedagogy.
Our mission is simple but powerful. That is, to revolutionize learning by making it more experience-based, engaging, and accessible.
The third section is the training and capacity building section.
Throughout the past years, we have dedicated ourselves to the successful creation, equipping, and enhancement of digital learning and teaching skills for our stakeholders, including lecturers, students, technicians, cleaners, and our affiliate institutions.
And the fourth session is the online program office.
At the online degree programs office, we believe physical words don't confine excellence. It's measured by how far we can extend knowledge, opportunity, and support to every eager mind, no matter where they are.
The fifth session is the pedagogy studio.
Our session plays a central role in supporting the creation of high-quality digital learning content for the university. We operate 24 fully equipped studios comprising teaching and learning studios, a modern podcast studio, and an immersive pedagogy studio, purposely built for synchronous and asynchronous lectures, tutorials, interviews, and academic discussions.
Together, these sections form the engine room of our center's operations, ensuring that every digital learning experience is effective, engaging, and seamless.
System Support Unit at the KNUST E-Learning Center serves as the core technical administration that keeps everything running smoothly, from troubleshooting tech issues to user assistance, system maintenance, and security management. Under the unit, we have the following: help desk technicians, network administrators, system specialists. Our team ensures minimal downtime, protects university data, and empowers 50,000 plus users. Because when technology works, great minds can focus on what matters.
At the Proctor and Online Assessment Unit of the KNUST E-Learning Center, our core mission is to ensure smooth, secure, and effective assessment experiences for both staffs and students across the campus of KNUST. We coordinate and facilitate online assessments from mid-semester examinations all the way to end-of-semester examinations across the various colleges of the university. Our work supports the academic integrity, accessibility, and efficiency of online assessment. Beyond exam delivery, we also support the process of item writing and question bank development. Whether it's behind the scenes or live during exams, our team is always working to ensure that every online assessment is seamless, fair, and impactful.
Our future includes the integration of immersive learning and pedagogy resources into education, artificial intelligence enhanced education on all spheres, digital content studio, rural outreach, and even more equitable access to knowledge. And our dream, actually, our heartbeat, is not only to digitalize education, but humanize it and make it more accessible and engaging, and then also impactful across sectors.
We started something. The E-Learning International Conference, the E-Learning Awareness Week, scholarship talks, admission tips, digital literacy training. Now we are here, transforming education through responsible innovation and inclusion. This is a story, a movement, and it's just beginning. KNUST E-Learning Center. Just a click.
We'd like to use this opportunity to give another resounding round of applause to the hardworking staff of the E-Learning Center, KNUST. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to move straight into our keynote speeches. And our very first one is a forward-thinking and a strategic leader in open, online, and professional learning, known for her human-centered approach and ability to scale high-quality education through innovation, intentionality, and systems perspective. Her curiosity and interest in education technology form a strong foundation for adapting to the evolving landscape of education and meeting the diverse needs of today's leaders and educational institutions. As a Dean of Online and Digital Education at the University of Leeds in the UK, she holds academic and strategic responsibility for advancing the institution's online degrees and flexible learning portfolio. She has championed scalable, inclusive models for online courses, designed and also led efforts to build resilient and sustainable in-house capacities, ensuring a seamless end-to-end student experience from application through to graduation. Prior to her current role, she has made significant contributions to the expansion of online degree portfolios at the University of Derby Online Learning in the UK and Western Governors University in the USA, witnessing the transformative power of inclusive, accessible, and flexible education on individuals' lives and communities, solidified through her dedication to advancing online and flexible learning initiative to reach a global student population. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, speaking on transforming education through responsible innovation and inclusion in this era, kindly permit me to invite the Dean of Online and Digital Education, University of Leeds, Dr. Margaret Korosek. A round of applause, please.
Good morning. Before I start, I ask permission to stand to the existing protocol. Thank you very much. It's an absolute honor to be here today with you. And what an inspiring story that we've just heard and that we will continue to hear throughout the day of the activity here at this amazing university. So we've touched on all of these themes, and I'd like to explore a story with you. It took one student and one moment for something to completely sideline us. After a year of working diligently, my heart stopped. What happened? The University of Leeds launched a fully online degree in disability studies, rights, and inclusion. This degree, just by the definition and the title, demanded digital accessibility, demanded a non-negotiable student experience. And so we invested time to build this course, to create the best student experience, to create digital accessibility so that all learners, regardless of their abilities, could access the material. It was inspiring. We invested in the academics to teach online academic practice. We ensured that the assessments were accessible, everything on that learning journey. What happened? A student wanted to apply to the program, and our admissions portal couldn't take it. It was not screen reader accessible. Oh my goodness, we just focused all the effort on that learning experience and forgot that it's not just the learning experience that the student remembers. Oh, sorry. It's the whole experience. That was intentional. It's the whole experience, right? If their first point of contact with your university fails them, we've lost the inclusivity right there. Forget about the learning. They've not even been able to step in, whether virtual or in person. They've just not even been able to address that. So we have these questions, right? The technology without inclusion marginalizes. But equally, inclusion without innovation stagnates. It just stops. It's like, oh, it just doesn't serve the purpose. So I call on us today to look at what this means for setting a new bar, what this means for user testing, for bringing in the students to explore these options. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is a bit boring, but it's really just to kind of understand where are we, and this is one definition, but I wanted to put this out there to explore, to spar. What does this mean for you? What does responsible innovation mean to you? And there's something about, hello? Hello. There's something about anticipating. What do we anticipate? And how do we evaluate the impact of the innovations, the educational innovations that we are exploring? Most importantly, do they align with what is ethical, what will be a quality experience, and what is sustainable? Thank you. So inclusion, this needs an hour or more. So this is just a touch point. And of course, many of these have already been explored. But to really call out, what do we really mean by inclusion? What does it mean for the learner? What does it mean for the institution? And what does it mean for the staff? And that's academic staff, professional services staff. We've already heard capacity building. We've seen the amazing work of scaling 2,000 academics. I mean, amazing, right? It's absolutely brilliant. And that is one piece of this pie, right? It's one piece of this. So the digital accessibility, as more content is in a digital format, digital accessibility is really important. And there are web legislations that do not meet actual digital accessibility. So I urge us all to test the boundaries of what it really means to make something accessible, to introduce choice as adult learners. What does it mean to be able to take things in different formats? When we're designing as well, what is the cultural context? It's important to feel like you are seen and that you can relate to those that are in your courses. And so there's something about how do we reflect a cultural context in a global environment when we may have learners from all over the world as well. I don't have an answer for you, but I do urge us all to think about what does that mean and bring the students in to really hear their views. That pedagogical belonging, crucial. And we've already touched on as well, that data justice and privacy. That is inclusion. Non-negotiable. How many students are in the room right now? Any students? Raise your hand. I love it. Do you know what the university is doing with your data? Can you access your data? These are questions you need to ask. To be an informed consumer, a conformed participant, an informed member of the community. It's really important. Because when you do this here, and you step into life beyond, life will throw you all sorts, and your data is all over. So be aware of this now, as you're learning, but also as you step in and beyond. And of course, the capacity building for educators, which I also feel very honored to know that Leeds, University of Leeds, has also invested in learning designers, learning technologists, media and production. And these are partners with the academic community, a true partnership within the university to enable. So the academics can focus on their subject areas and we can create the most engaging student experience. So, the provocation, what if we design for the learner and not the institution? So, let's just explore a little bit when we talk about that user experience. We know the VR headsets. How many here have struggled? We had this wonderful, with Maya yesterday, talked about the natural hair. Oh my goodness. How do you put a VR headset on when you've got natural hair that is not the size of a man's head? Right? It's a real problem. Are we really being inclusive when we offer a single model? Well, probably not. But actually, it's the student to come and say, this doesn't work for me. And it's the institution to say to the providers, what can you do about this? It's for the student to design something that would work. That's inclusive education. right? That's something that really brings it home. Oh, thank you. You see me, and you have accommodated my needs. That is so powerful, incredibly powerful. Oh, I think I missed one. So the human-centered, I'm just going to go back one, please. Yeah. The human-centered design takes these things into consideration. It's not unlike Dr. Kim's instructional design, learning design. It's just applying it to that broader ecosystem of your university, the full end-to-end student experience, because it's not just the point of learning, it's the whole experience. So how do we navigate this? We know what's emerging, AI, virtual reality, all of these things. You are very lucky, just to say. Sorry? Sorry? Hello? 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 So, you are very lucky here at KNUST because you have these experiences, and clearly they're testing the boundaries, they're exploring. So how do we apply the principles here to navigate this space where innovation really extends the opportunity for an authentic human engagement? To know that actually we're partners in this model. And I, as a student, I, as an administrator, as an academic, we all have a voice in that system. That's really very powerful to support us. One of the examples that I'd like to just share from Leeds as well about the human-centered design and how we're navigating this innovation landscape. Hello. For example, we've introduced SOUL modules. Yes, SOUL, S-O-U-L, where students can propose a project and get credit for it. We've introduced Hello. Hello.
Okay.
Hello. 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 I'm going to talk real fast. soul modules, performance-based admissions, acknowledging what someone brings in before they start a degree with our institution. I acknowledge you might have been in work for 10 years. You already know a lot. I'm not going to make you repeat all of that. I'm going to validate what you already know. That is human-centered design. That means I see you. I acknowledge what you are bringing to this. We've also introduced acceptance of industry certification, for example. We've expanded our open short course and open courses to allow access, to allow those who are curious to have that curiosity satiated a bit. Okay. We're going to move on and be very much nearly done. Ooh. Ah, thank you. That's great. So a vision for the future. Where innovation amplifies the human potential, where every student has a sense of belonging, and where educators are supported. This is responsible innovation and inclusivity manifested in what we do every single day. Well, the other view looked a little bit better, but we'll stop there. So really, institutions must lead with courage. It takes courage. We've already talked about courage. It does take courage. It takes leadership. It takes the co-creation. Your voice as students matters. Say what works. Say what doesn't work. And be a part of the solution. Be the innovation, right? Find that entrepreneurial bit. And again, what was also said yesterday, thank you so much for that inspiration, is, find where you can have an impact, right? It's amazing. I love that. It's so powerful. But that's at an individual level, and it's at an institutional level. So keep that in mind when you are here, because your voice matters, and your inclusion in this ecosystem is absolutely crucial. With that, I will conclude. Thank you so much.
I think she deserves a bigger round of applause. Thank you so much, Dr. Karasek. It's not easy being on stage and having the microphones all over the place, so we really appreciate your delivery as well. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are at the point where I would indulge you to please be upstanding as we take a special address from His Excellency Roy Gilead, the Israeli ambassador to Ghana. Please, a round of applause for him as he takes the stage to give us this very special address.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. So now I'm a bit confused with all the microphones. Margaret, I should have spoken before you. There are some people which I find a big challenge to speak after, and you are one of those people, but I'll try my best. Professor Eric Asante, the Director of E-Learning Center at Knust University, Dr. Margaret Korsek, I hope I pronounced the last name correctly, from University of Leeds. I spoke at the University of Leeds in 2006. I know I don't look that old, but this is the time I spoke there. Dr. Kim Welsh, University of the Arizona State University. Dr. Karen Roseman, Universities of the West Indies, and most important, our Ghanaian colleagues and students and friends and faculty members. It's a great opportunity to be here today. Relations between Israel and Ghana, you might be taken by surprise, started in 1956, 1 year before you achieved your independence, 8 years after we did ours. And after a year in 1957, our embassy here became the first embassy of Israel all over Africa. Since then, in I think by now 68 years, relationship between Israel and Ghana, the bilateral relationship are really second to none. Ghana is one of the best friends of Israel all over Africa. As you understand, relations started with an area which is very important for both states, agriculture. This was really the pillar of the bilateral relations, but then we went into other areas, into cybersecurity, fintech, but today we are going to speak about education. The relations between Israeli academic institutions and Ghanaian academic institutions became very active. There are quite a significant number of Ghanaian students that are studying in Israel. The number is second only to the Ghana soccer players that are playing in Israel, which became a fashion, men and women, by the way. They train in Israel, then they go to play in England. Our football is not as good as the one in the UK, but it's not bad. But again, going back to Israeli universities, I think we are very proud of the partnership we have between the two academies. And when we speak about academy in Ghana, we speak about KNUS, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. You know, Eric, every time I come to this university, it's already my second visit here, my heart really fills with joy. It's really, your campus is enlightening. Actually, you deserve it. Actually, you know, I thought about it, and maybe when I retire from my job here as an ambassador, maybe I should come over here to do my PhD. Let's speak about it later. Also in the e-learning conference, our contribution started in 2023. At that time was still, I think, Mrs. Judith Rosendahl did it through virtual, through e-learning. Last year, in 2024, Mr. Avi Warshavsky came over. And this year, we are very proud to present a colleague and a friend by now, Mr. Niv Gross. Both gentlemen are from the CET, the Center for Educational Technology in Israel, that really became a partner of your e-learning center here, and I really believe that the sky is the limit. Like many other things, Eric, you spoke in the video clip about necessity. And I think, like many other things in Israel, creativity, which I think Israelis are known for, has been a byproduct and an outcome of necessity. Talking about agriculture, the lack of water drove us into drip irrigation, which is now known all over the world, also here in Ghana. Lack of energy resources drove us into solar energy, which is now 10% of the Israeli overall energy resources. In the field of defense, embargo on weapons to Israel drove us to develop a significant defense industry. And I think necessity is also the driving force behind Israeli creativity in the field of e-learning. So everybody knows about the COVID-19, which was a global necessity. But in Israel, there are also some particular necessities that unfortunately goes back again to the very unique security situation that we are facing. As you know, in the last 2 years, we are involved in a war. This war prevented many kids of going to school, and they had to lean on e-learning. Also, many of the university students were drafted to the army. Our army is leaning, it's a popular army, it is leaning on the people, it's not a professional army like in the UK or the US, but it's what you call a popular army, which is leaning on the population, on the people, and whenever there is a situation that requires, students have to leave, like you, have to leave the university and to join their military units, and then the universities had to compensate in a way and make sure that their studies will not be in a problem by helping them and assisting them through e-learning. So indeed, necessity drove us to where we are in this, to the level we are in e-learning. As I said, as it drove us to our achievements in other areas, agriculture, defense, energy, so on and so forth. I'd like to end by mentioning one challenge in e-learning, and I think, Margaret, you spoke about it, and this is the lack of human engagement. It was part of your presentation, and I think that's one challenge that I'm sure you're going to address during this important conference. I actually come from a family of teachers. My mother was a PE teacher, and I'm doing diplomacy in the last 35 years of my life. But I did try to be a teacher. A few years ago, I studied education and I went to teach only for a year. I might be a little bit conservative, but I really believe that the biggest challenge that e-learning will need to overcome is the lack of human engagement. I think the human dialogue between the teacher and the student in the class, for me, I might be a little bit conservative, but I think this is an essential part of education, the dialogue. And the need to overcome this human dialogue through e-learning, through the computers, through technology, through digital means, I think it's a challenge that I'm sure you will know how to face successfully. Let us, and here I repeat what I said in a conference yesterday in Accra, let us not forget one thing. Technology is a tool. Technology is the mean. But the most important thing we have to remember that on the other side of the computer or in the classroom, there is the student, there is the pupil. And it is the content and it is the essence of education which is important at the end of the day. I know also in Israel sometimes I feel that we are obsessed by technology. So technology is extremely important as long as we remember that at the end of the day it is only the tool and the mean and the target is the soul of the student. I thank you very much.
All right, I think this one is working. Your Excellency, thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. But could you please join me up on stage as I invite Professor Datsun Awunyo Vitor, Provost for the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Professor Anthony Andrews, the Director for IDL, and our very own Prof. Asante. We have a gift for you. We have a very lovely gift from the Vice Chancellor for you. We really appreciate you joining us for this conference.
Yeah, His Excellency, this is from the Vice Chancellor and the management of the university. An outstanding strategic external partnership award to the embassy, presented to the Embassy of Israel, Accra, Ghana. Thank you very much.
All right, so this is an outstanding strategic external partner award 2024-2025 presented to Embassy of Israel, Accra, Ghana for your exceptional dedication and support to promoting e-learning at KNUST.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Your partnership means the world to us. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all. A round of applause, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. And on that note, I would invite the Center for National Culture to give us a musical interlude. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the dance you just witnessed is called Achia Beko and is performed mostly southern Ghana, Benin, and Togo. I have learned recently that it was performed in celebration of a war won, but mostly now it's performed as social gathering. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Center for National Culture. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is a seasoned fintech entrepreneur with a distinguished record of funding and scaling inclusive data platforms across Africa. His work spans data payment, pension systems for the informal sector, and national scale telecom infrastructure, and strategic investment in early-stage African technology ventures. Born in Pakistan, he has lived in Ghana since 1979. He is an alumnus of the Ghana International School and the University of Ghana, Legon, where he earned a degree in computer science and physics in 1996. He went on to have an MSc in information systems engineering from the University of Manchester Institute of Science and Technology, UMIST, in 1998. After his graduate studies, he returned to Ghana and began his career in technology, distribution, and systems integration. In 2009, he shifted his focus towards building proprietary technology solutions, leading to the launch of the foundational infrastructure platform called the PXS Ghana Mobile Number Portability Clearinghouse 2021 until now. His bio goes on, but I would like for all of us to welcome the CEO of People's Pension Trust, fintech entrepreneur, Shakib Nazir. Thank you so much, sir. Welcome to Kenya.
Hello, everyone. With all protocols observed, thank you very much. It's my real honor and pleasure to be here. Thank you for cutting short that profile. I didn't know who you were talking about. But my name is Sakib, and thank you. You covered some very important points. I am the CEO of People's Pensions, which is a digital pensions company and a financial services company with a focus on voluntary pensions for the informal sector. I thought I was coming to share some developments in fintech, but I think after listening to all the talks, fintech has a lot to learn from e-learning and from the KNUST Center for E-Learning. So I think I will be bringing a delegation of fintech to come spend time with you. And I think on that point, it's very important that we all collaborate together. There's so much that industry and academia can learn from each other, and I do wish and I would encourage us to spend more time together, learning and working together, as we're all working towards the same goal, which is to help make the world a better place. So my personal focus for the last 10 years has been on financial inclusion and innovation. And again, I'm very happy, Prof, with your title about responsible innovation and inclusion. Responsible especially is key because it's so important that we all work together again with impact and making the world a better place using businesses as a force for good. As an entrepreneur and a business person, for me it's very important that the talents that we have are utilized for good. And that we all live, especially on a continent with so much amazing potential, but also such incredible challenges. I'd like to share a few statistics that you already know about Africa, but in context of e-learning, by the end of this century, Africa will have half of the world's population. By 2050, Africa's population will be around 2.5 billion people. And Nigeria, our big brother, alone, by 2050 will have 350 million people, making it the third most populous country in the world, behind India and China. Over 60% of this population is below 25 years old. It's a very young population, some of them even unborn. And you can imagine with where technology is going, if we're not careful, everyone will be born with a SIM and a phone in their hands. And it's a very rapidly urbanizing population. Already today, Ghana is more urban than rural. And 80% of our workforce is informal. There are not that many professional jobs or working jobs, but everybody is occupied. And we, of course, there's a huge lack of access to quality healthcare, housing, credit, and for our topic here today, education. And I'm hoping that e-learning will be a huge way for us to overcome this gap. 50% of our youth may lack the skills for tomorrow's job if we don't urgently transform our education systems. And again, I'm impressed to see what e-learning is doing and how we can collaborate together using technology to help solve this problem before it becomes a crisis. So the problems are real, but so are the opportunities to solve them. All of these billions of people coming up will have smartphones and mobile money, and in my opinion, disposable income. Okay, because today this population has been invisible. But today, because of the smartphone, because of mobile phone and mobile money, today we can really connect and transact with this population. It will have massive spending power and, again, demand for all sorts of goods and services, and, of course, education. The good news is that luckily the mobile phone is changing everything. We've leapfrogged over the landline, and we've leapfrogged over bank accounts with mobile money. And now we must leapfrog over traditional economies to build more innovative and inclusive economies. And that, I believe, is the context of our session today. So in Ghana especially, mobile money has transformed mobile phones into banks. And now we have all sorts of financial products like savings, insurance, and pensions that were just not available to the majority of the population 10 years ago. I'm sure you've all seen the adverts for MTN's Quick Loan. That product alone gives out more money than all the banks put out together. My company, People's Pension, is helping make pensions available to everyone in the formal and informal economy. Whether you're a lecturer or a student, a software engineer or a market trader, a business leader or a gig worker, you can now sign up and contribute towards your old age in a few easy steps. That, I think, is what also e-learning is about, applying the same innovation and context-based thinking to education. Like I said, I'll share a few lessons that we have learned in the fintech industry, and I'm happy to say that there are lessons that we will also learn from e-learning. But the important thing is, how do we translate these lessons together? And the first one is building for reality, not fantasy. Okay. The challenges we've seen, no internet. How do we overcome people not having internet? We use USSD. How do we overcome people not having smartphones? We use YAM phones. For our foreign guests, YAM phones are feature phones, not smartphones. How do we overcome bank accounts? We have mobile phones today, mobile wallets. So at People's Pension, customers who don't have regular income or internet access, we've created micro-contribution models where people can sign up for small amounts, either directly or through agents. And how do we translate this mindset into education? We often assume that technology demands power, internet, and connectivity. But in many parts of the country, as across Africa and in many emerging markets, they're just not there. They're luxuries. So how do we build instead? I was very happy to hear in the VC speech about online-first learning apps with downloadable content and radio-based learning. Those are amazing innovations utilizing already existing technology. We don't even need to think too much or build new things. There's so much existing technology that we can adapt and localize for our own context and environment. It's really inspiring to see what the university and this annual e-learning week is also doing to support practical innovation and about adapting to students' realities. We need to meet our customers in education or in financial services or any sector. We need to meet our customers not where we wish they were, but where they really are. 2, trust. One of our biggest drivers is trust. Mobile money and mobile financial services haven't just grown because they were digital. It's grown because it's taken a time. It's taken 10 years. It's taken a long time for it to become successful. And slowly, the whole culture of mobile money and it being ubiquitous everywhere, a taxi driver, a shopkeeper, a relative, everybody is using it. And trust helps move technology fast. Likewise, we've reached deep into underserved communities because we use local partners, we use local agents, people who already are trusted, who are already educated, to onboard and support them. Likewise, I was reflecting in education, who can we trust? We can trust teachers, we can trust churches and mosques, we can trust associations and unions, we can trust relatives, and we can trust our WhatsApp groups. So likewise, we need to train these guys, lecturers, librarians, and students to become digital mentors. In digital education, the best infrastructure is not the Amazon hosting on cloud, but it's really the community champions. The next step, or the next critical factor for success is personalization. With our product, you save daily or weekly and not just monthly. You can also top up with any time. You get SMS and email prompts. You get to withdraw your money whenever you need it. We've built in life insurance and we've built in a great return. We're building chatbots in local languages. And we're not just selling retirement, but we're also selling skills. We're selling financial literacy, digital skills, health and well-being, and even vocational skills in order to match the needs of our customers. How do we do the same in education? The personalization in language, in schedule, and in pace. Everyone works at a different pace. Everyone works at a different schedule. Everyone would like to learn in a different language. And this personalization helps bridge the gaps, especially for fresh students or students who are working part-time or learners with special needs. When services fit people, inclusion happens naturally. It also means smart integration. Smart integration means allowing people to utilize what they're already used to, tools that they already have. Again, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's so many tools, so many platforms people are using. How do we embed our products in those platforms? There's Facebook, there's WhatsApp, there's Snapchat. How do we embed, instead of building brand new platforms that people have to download, their phones are slow, their phones are old, they can't handle too many apps. No one is going to delete their WhatsApp for your e-learning app. You know? But if you can embed your product into those tools, then we have a great starting point. Okay, so innovation is not always about disruption. It's about leveraging existing tools and technologies that people already know and use and just adapting them to new use cases. Lastly, it's about inclusion by design. It's not about building products for specific segments. It's about building, it's not about building broad products, but it's about building products for specific segments. You look at certain segments and you adapt the base product to fit those segments. That's inclusion by design. Likewise, in education, we must do the same. We need to build digital tools that work across gender, language, and ability. Digital equality is about giving everyone the right support, whether it's giving access to devices or providing audio lessons over podcasts or text lessons to others. So this mindset will ensure that no one is left behind, not because of potential, but because we build systems that fit into the context of people's lives. So we have a lot of work to do. Our challenges are immense, and we need to leapfrog. We're already leapfrogging in fintech, and again, we're leapfrogging in education. Again, the Vice Chancellor mentioned one point, and COVID-19 really created a huge challenge, but it also created a huge need for people to adapt to the new realities of the continent, of the world we live in, and the times we live in. Another challenge on the horizon is AI, and it's changing so much. But it's another tool we must use for our own good. So together, we need to invest in data analytics, machine learning, localized AI, human-centered design, and behavioral science so that we can build better solutions to serve the people that we live with. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation, Saqib Nazir, and we look forward to many more partnerships with you. Thank you very, very much. Another round of applause, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to acknowledge our online audience on our e-learning center YouTube page, on our Tech TV YouTube page, as well as channel MOE, that's the official television station of the Ministry of Education, and is made possible through the Center for National Distance Learning and Open Schooling. I would like to thank the director, Dr. Diawu Minum, for the collaboration. Let's give all our online audience a round of applause. Well, next will be a virtual presentation, and it will be done by a senior lecturer in digital education at the University of Edinburgh and a co-director of the Center for Research in Digital Education. His published work include critical perspectives on educational technology, the mobility of digital education, particularly for marginalized groups, and future educational research. He is the principal investigator on the MasterCard Foundation-funded project, Practitioners Network, and the Digital Inclusion for Higher Education in Sub-Saharan Africa. He's also PI on the Royal Society of Edinburgh-funded Connected Policy, Practice, and Accreditation. That's the Connected Refugee Education in Ugandan Higher Education Project. He's also the PI on the GCRF-funded Digital Education Africa Cluster, and the PI on the Digital Education for Change Makers in Sub-Saharan African Project. He's the co-founder and chief digital education officer for Panoply Digital, a consultancy dedicated to appropriate use of educational technology in developing contexts. Mr. Michael Galliner is a senior lecturer in digital education, co-director for the Center of Research in Digital Education. Good morning, Michael. If you can hear us, you can also say good morning to us. You can start your presentation.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Good morning. Please kindly go ahead.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
We are all very fine, Michael. You may please go ahead.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to go through my presentation really quickly. The introduction was very much appreciated, and thank you for that. And so I will start my slide deck here in a second. And just to add a little bit to that, it's almost like I can appreciate what the past speaker was just talking about, because it almost looked like we were corresponding with each other in terms of the nature of our presentations, because mine picks up many of the same points that I think he was referring to in locally adapted technologies and using what you have and these sorts of things. So I do appreciate that. It was a very interesting presentation there. I'm focusing a little bit more on equity and digital incorporation. Again, by way of background, I won't go into too much detail about my background because that was a lovely introduction. I'm at the center, I'm a co-director of the Center for Research in Digital Education at the University of Edinburgh. We work, at least personally, I work a lot with these organizations. Panoply Digital, which is an organization I co-founded. I work a lot with UNHCR and UNESCO and the Connected Learning and Crisis Consortia. In a previous iteration of my career, I used to work in something called, that is now called the Zamani Project, which was about documenting African cultural heritage. And this was in the 2005, 2006. So about 20 years ago, we were doing that as well. So I've been working largely on the continent for the last 20 years or so in certain projects. You can see some of those organizations are refugee focused. So a lot of my work has to do with refugee incorporation into education, so inclusion efforts for refugees, which is increasingly becoming framed as a digital enterprise. I'm at the Center for Research in Digital Education. We have a lot of activity going on. You can take a look if you want. It's established in 2015. I teach on the MSc in Digital Education. I know some people in the room there today are also affiliated with that MSc in Digital Education, so you're very welcome. And we have another MSc in Educational Futures. We have 5 strands of the center, and I lead the one that's focused specifically on the Global South. The work we do so we work quite a bit in Ghana. Right now we work with the Ministries of Education, we work with the Ghana Education Service, and CENLOS as well. It's about using educational technology largely in higher education. So a lot of the focus, I work with universities and things like that. So the kind of picking up on what the previous speaker was talking about in relation to the pensions, which is some really great stuff there. I think in terms of evaluating emerging technologies in education, it's important to keep a level head, it's important to be critical, and yet still kind of cautiously optimistic and hopeful about what's possible with these things. And the questions I always ask in terms of a new technology, say for example, artificial intelligence and its use in education, is claim to do. Those are often two separate things, and I think it's important to consider that question. Does it have a place in education? Not all technologies need to be in education, and education is not the sum total of the context in which these technologies can be used. So I think having an idea of where does it begin and where does it end? What does it cost? And I mean not just financially, obviously, hence the quotation marks, but what does it cost in terms of time, labor? What kind of cost does it have on the role of the teacher and the role of the student? Does it degrade or augment existing systems and structures? And what should we do ultimately with these technologies? So I'm taking a slightly, broader macro kind of perspective here. Some of this is found in that article that I'm listing there, which is focused on an idea called horizontalism versus verticality, right? So this idea with digital education, with the use of educational technology, is that we are all naturally ascribing to some kind of vertical scale of normalization. Everything is working towards efficiency and scale and these sorts of things. So things become generic. Often things become very contextless, and they sort of erode the local context. Quite the opposite of what the previous speaker was talking about. But that is generally the trend with educational technology if we're not careful. I can see very clearly that people in this room are very careful about this. So there are other alternatives that you can use to, rather than globalization, using things like horizontalism, keeping things horizontal as opposed to vertical to maintain the local context. So often it's seen as a force for the standardization. This is basically what I just said. So how it's standardized, how it's made generic or homogenized or made vertical versus that responding to situated local educational context needs. So ultimately, the purpose of policy and strategy in relation to educational technology is a diversifying one. How do we maintain the incredible intellectual traditions of Ghana and indeed throughout West Africa. How do we maintain that diversity in the way we sort of talk about educational technology, in the way we incorporate it into our curriculum? So ultimately, we're trying to maintain the diverse knowledge traditions in Ghana, but using them to inform further digital education development. So it's not just about maintaining some past effort or some past knowledge tradition. It's about translating those into the current climate and into the emerging technologies that are available to us. So looking to identify open futures. We're desperate to not lock ourselves in to commercial futures, for example, that don't allow for that kind of diversification. So it's maintaining these open futures and opportunities for the applications of these technologies that build on an existing cultural base. Again, going back to the previous speaker, it's about looking for how this works specifically to the Ghanaian context, how this works in rural populations. For me personally, it's about how this works in refugee settlements and transition points where technology is slight, if existing at all. Connectivity is poor, electricity is unstable. So how do these technologies work in those spaces? And then I design outward from there. So AI, and again, it's kind of, for me personally, it's a little bit silly to avoid talking about AI because it's everywhere, obviously. But a lot of it is hype, and a lot of it is can be disruptive in a negative way to existing educational systems. So it's good that we have a clear idea of what this is. So AI, I'm using it as a proxy for any kind of emerging technology. So how do we sort of evaluate those things about, like, what does it cost? What is its impact? How does it change the role of the teacher? All of these things are important questions. So what kinds of education is it promoting? A skills agenda? There's nothing wrong with skills, of course. I mean, skills are absolutely necessary. But, often there is question about how contextless are skills at all. Are skills dependent on a particular context? In many cases, they are. So what kind of education or learning is AI promoting? Is it promoting scale? Certainly, yeah, that's certainly a part of it. All education, at least formal education, is predicated to some degree on scale. What kind of sovereignty issues does it have? Can Ghana's education system maintain the Ghanaian qualities of that in response to these sorts of things like AI? And networked and networks, I think those are two separate things. So is Ghana, with the use of AI, will education in Ghana become increasingly networked into larger geopolitical systems, or even regional ones like ECOWAS or anything like that? Or does it allow for the networks to exist, where for example, KUNST is sort of engaging with other universities, as I know they are, in the region and internationally, and learning from each other, rather than trying to normalize to some specific global agenda. So being very steely-eyed and very clear-eyed about what realistically can it do. We know the claims around AI. It's transformative, it changes, the game changer, it disrupts, all of those things. Those kinds of terminologies are often very, very poorly received in the communities that I work with. So for example, refugees or marginalized communities, they're not looking for further disruption. They're looking for stability and sort of access and inclusion. Those things are a little bit less captured in the broader discourses about what AI can do in education. What can it really do? All of that exists at the meso and the micro level. Meso being the institutional level, or maybe the sector level, and then micro, how do people use it? Teachers, students, parents, community members, and so forth. I think a lot of the use cases that the previous speaker was talking about would be very applicable in these contexts as well. What can it really do? How would a teacher use it? How would a student use it? And what drawbacks are there to that kind of use? So where does that leave us? If you're going through that evaluation process, and we're doing it here, clearly, our center focuses a lot on the use of AI and how that's impacting the structure of education the world over in many different ways, both positive and negatively. So where does that leave us? Once we've done that critical evaluation of these technologies, where does that leave? What do we do? So I think it helps to walk away thinking that we should see AI as this an amorphous and evolving thing. It's conflating a lot of different kinds of technologies and practices. It's not just about the technology. It's about all the different practices that are interacting with that and how it structures or erodes those contexts. So we talk about safe deployment. We talk about ethical AI. Well, the jury's still out on whether or not that kind of mass rollout of things like AI is ethical, or is it possible to be safe? That remains to be seen, ultimately. So we have to be mindful of the fact that a lot of the commercial applications in particular are often solutions looking for problems, right? So they're not necessarily a complete address of a local contextualized issue or a problem. They are kind of mass scaling agents looking for problems rather than addressing the problem directly. They are solutions by themselves. So mapping out, it's important for us as an educational community to map out what are the commercial offers, what can they do, but categorically, what do they do, rather than just the tropes they offer about what they do. So often, anytime I see an offer, and to the commercial entities in the room, this is not meant as any sort of critique or anything, but when I'm critiquing what is available to me through a commercial offer, I'm looking at those kinds of claims. What are they claiming? And if they resort often to the "you're falling behind" rhetoric or metaphor, I tend to view that in a negative fashion. Right? Behind shouldn't be the way that you evaluate these things. So there are legitimate uses for these sorts of things. So tutoring, matchmaking, curricular and course design. Previous speaker mentioned chatbots, things of that nature. Those are perfectly plausible. Some of these are appropriate for education, though, and some aren't. So it's about knowing where they sit in the larger educational ecosystem. So there are good examples out there, projects to model things on, many of which are coming from Ghana. So I'm basically telling the room what you already know. So how do we get to a point where AI, and indeed all ed tech, is done with students and teachers rather than at them? And I think I'm, again, picking up on the previous speaker's idea of, you're designing for these things. So how are you doing it with them rather than at them? These ground up or bottom up approach rather than strictly the top down. So there are methods that allow you to do this. They tend to be slower. They tend to be a little bit more resource intensive at times, but they do exist. Co-creation, participatory methods, future-oriented methods. Have these groups, whoever they might be, and I do this with refugees, so I know it can work. Have these groups define what they want out of this for themselves. Often in many of the groups that I work with, I have to legitimize the non-use of technology. If the community is perfectly comfortable performing a particular activity around education, for example, without using digital technology, and they feel comfortable going forward with that, and they know all the details they need to know, then that non-use of technology is perfectly legitimate. It's up to them to figure out for themselves. So what does this look like for schools and universities in Ghana, and how can we co-create this future? And ultimately, this is a question, if we're focusing specifically on AI, what are the hallmarks of a Ghanaian AI? What does it look like? All right, what is unique about that offer? Considering the uniqueness of the Ghanaian knowledge traditions and the West African knowledge traditions there, how do we incorporate all that into our understanding of AI? How does it honor that? So there are some models. Some models do exist. We're not making it up. And this is just me talking, so please excuse the simplicity of this. But so practical uses, yeah. So AI in tandem with teachers, co-creating ways to work together. In tandem with is a good litmus test for these technologies, right? They should be working with teachers, not working at them. So co-creating ways to work together. Let teachers figure this out. AI as literacy trainers, spotting the hallucinations, treating AI as a mechanism for creating that media literacy or digital literacy or any kind of literacy, really. So AI and matching person to opportunity. So this is like the matchmaker kind of scenario. We're exploring this a little bit with refugee education and with UNHCR. This idea of matching people to educational opportunity or to scholarship opportunity or these sorts of things. The difficulty is always in trusting what the recommendations are. So AI as foundational learning or vocabulary learning for a particular field, practice without judgment. So providing students with the opportunity to practice without fear of mistakes, without fear of failure. I think there is a legitimate educational use case within that. And there are some models for that too, and I'm sure many from Ghana as well. AI and extending research methods. It's not just about the teaching, it's about the research that is associated with the teaching or with the education. AI provides us that, an opportunity to rethink some research methods. So bad ideas, again, this is just me talking, so bear that with a grain of salt. Bad ideas are wholesale replacement of any educational space. Whatever nonsense, for example, Trump is trying to do now, I think it's probably best to avoid that. So wholesale replacement of any educational space is always a bad idea. We're not trying to replace anything here, we're trying to augment existing systems. Fully automated space without oversight, I think that's important as well. Regardless of how it's used or where it's used, it needs oversight. It can't just act independently. This is some of these audiences, some of these student groups are too how do I say it, too fragile to withstand that kind, or at least the ones I work with, to withstand that kind of erroneous information. AI off the shelf is usually a bad idea, or any educational technology off the shelf. It's usually a bad idea. Significantly increases teacher labor because the teachers are bending to it, not the other way around. And it cedes autonomy, so you're locked into particular systems. Avoid the lock-in if you can. So AI off the shelf, any kind of educational technology or any technology needs to be adapted. So there are models for this, and I encourage everybody to take a look at this. So it's like open, offline, and Ghanaian AI. So there are people working towards developing these, and many of you know this already, I'm sure. So you're about using AI without reliable or affordable internet on a standard phone or laptop. There's some useful resources that are publicly available here. That's a GitHub repository that anybody can look at. And there's some readings involved. There's how-to instructions about how to set it up. So it's possible to create AI that runs locally or offline. And it refers to localized data sets too. So it is possible to set that up. Hopefully there's some exploration into these sorts of things, right? Using Ghanaian data sets to inform Ghanaian AI, I think it's an interesting research project, let's put it that way. So ultimately the takeaway is build it, install it, train it, own it, make it your own, otherwise it's done to you. So what exactly, again, does it do? I think, if we're going back to those original questions, what exactly does it do? Well, not as much as we might think in the first instance. It might get there eventually, but right now I think what we're dealing with is a heady mixture of hype and then some actual tangible evidence of potentially some positive development. Does it have a place in education? Maybe. And that's me being a teacher there, but always in tandem with teachers, right? It has to work together with systems of education and with teachers themselves. And that doesn't mean necessarily just we need more teacher training. What you need is teachers having exposure to it and making these decisions for themselves. That's not necessarily a formalized training. Sometimes it's just a matter of time and exposure. Let them play around with it. And what does it cost? It costs a lot. And I don't mean necessarily the financial part of it, but that does exist as well. But it's the time, right? This is a large time investment. So hopefully you have a reason for doing it beyond just saying we don't want to fall behind. And what should we do? Make it your own. Ultimately, that's the sort of takeaway for anything I do. It's a very simplistic one. It's very easier said than done, so my apologies for that. But this is what we tell some of the communities and some of the settlements that we work with to make your own infrastructure and to sort of use it as a mechanism for community development, right? So writing that a little bit larger on a national scale, I think is never a bad direction to follow. And that's it for now. Thank you so much. I'll stop there.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. May we see your face before you go, so we can give you a round of applause for that wonderful presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael. Another round of applause for him. Your Excellency, yesterday we had a very interesting engagement with Africa's most influential YouTuber, renowned for transforming global perspectives on the continent through powerful, authentic storytelling. He has over 1.8 million subscribers on YouTube and a combined social media follower of over 4 million. He travels across Africa and indeed other continents, showcasing its innovation-rich cultures and inspiring success stories, one country at a time. Please permit me to introduce Woody Maya to give us a very short special address. Ladies and gentlemen, Woody Maya.
Good morning. Wow, this is not part of the plan, but it feels good to be the new regional minister for the next 2 minutes. Yeah, a round of applause for me, man. All protocols duly observed. I have few words. And the few words that I have is not just for students, but even our professors in this room. What this institution has established, I believe that it's about time for each and everyone to take advantage of it. I could not believe that we have an e-learning center which is equipped with drones, equipped with cameras, equipped with microphones, equipped with engineers. And we cannot boast of content creators from this prestigious university. Should I say, what a shame? But I believe that that story has to change after today. It's time for us to take advantage of our surroundings. It's time to boost Ghana's digital economy. It is possible. Yeah, it is possible. It is possible. Yeah. And that will not be done by anyone. It will be done by us. It's time for us to believe in us. It's time for us to believe in our potential. Pick up that camera, go to the East Center, and learn something new. I repeat, no one from this university should come out of this university looking for a job, knowing that the platform has already been created in the school. You want to be an engineer? I'm an engineer by profession. Clap for me, man. But to be honest with you, engineering is not feeding me, bro. I'm not saying don't be an engineer, but I'm here to tell you that you can create a value and at the same time be an engineer. You can create a value and at the same time be what? A medical doctor. You can be a professor and still have a double income. Imagine KNUST paying you, and online too, people are paying you. What a beautiful job. I want to be part of this whole e-learning, even though I've not been invited, but I want to put myself in there because I believe in impact. So from today onwards, I'm an unofficial ambassador. Thank you. Unofficial. Unofficial. And anytime you call on me, even if I'm out of the country, I will show up. Because it's time for us to take advantage of what has been created in this university. Yesterday, I was looking for people who are willing to create daily vlogs. I could not get even a single one. But I'll still have to give you guys the cameras. So I've decided to provide 2 cameras. One is a vlogging camera, and then I didn't see Sony cameras when I went to the... I mean, I'm not a Sony ambassador, but I believe that you guys deserve Sony cameras. So I'll try my best put my network together. I'm giving one, but I believe that with time, we'll donate more. So thank you so much. And thank you for having me. Thank you.
Udimaya, please wait. Your Excellency, Ambassador Gillette, could you please kindly assist our director to make a presentation for this wonderful young man who is now an official ambassador of the E-Learning Center, KNUST.
He's my inspiration as the ambassador.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Gillard. Thank you. Thank you, Udemaya. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we love to see people rise and also carry others with them. So, Udemaya, we're looking forward to the Sony camera. Thank you very much. I'm going to invite a very vibrant lady who is a proud graduate of the University of West Indies, St. Augustine. And she had that for her bachelor's in economics and also master's in international relations. She also received postgraduate qualification in e-learning from the Open Polytechnic in New Zealand and the University of Sheffield School of Education. She holds a PhD in e-research and technology-enhanced learning from Lancaster University. Her current research interests are in immersive learning experiences. She joined the staff of the University of West Indies Global Campus, formerly Open Campus, in 2016 to lead the Trinidad and Tobago's countryside to provide innovative learning experiences under the canopy of quality education. She's now leading a regional team in the area of digital learning, innovation, and extended reality experiences. She identifies with being a visual learning, which is why most of her rewarding projects include traveling science exhibition called Yapolo, a photographic retrospective called The Way We Were, a mobile app for fisher folks called M-Fisheries, and a digital knowledge exchange space called Studios. She's passionate about innovating on education delivery to making learning fun. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mrs. Karen Roseman.
Wow, so after my previous speaker, what can I say? But warm greetings. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'd like to say thank you so much for your invitation, all protocols observed. So, the University of the West Indies, I am representing my pro-vice chancellor and principal. He couldn't be here, Dr. Francis Severin, but I gladly stepped in for him. So I'd also like to thank Professor Apawa Asante for organizing this fantastic conference and his team. And I am thankful for the hospitality that you have shown us so far. I'm honored here today to give my few reflections on the whole theme of the conference. So the first part of my discussion is on mapping the territory of the University of the West Indies and the global campus. We were established in 1948 as a college of the University of London, and from its inception, the mandate was to be a regional university because we had to serve countries across the Caribbean archipelago. And one of the most visionary decisions that we made at that time was to establish an extramural department, and that department is sort of our precursor to what the global campus is. And it brought higher education to those persons who were not able to access the landed campuses. So today we have 4 landed campuses: Mona campus in Jamaica, Cape Hill campus in Barbados, St. Augustine campus in Trinidad and Tobago, and 5 Islands campus in Antigua and Barbuda. But my campus, the Global Campus, serves 17 English-speaking countries in the Caribbean, from Belize in the north to Trinidad and Tobago in the south. And we offer a range of online programs, undergraduate degrees, diplomas, certificates, and our mission remains rooted in access and inclusion. And our evolution reflects changing technology and needs. So we started with radio education back in the 1950s. Then we went to interactive audio conferencing in the 1980s. And we were doing web-based delivery in the 2000s via our open campus. And now we are preparing for a digital era, a reality. So in 2023, we transitioned into the global campus, embracing not just e-learning, but the next frontier, which is V-learning or virtual learning. So this journey echoes our founding mission to unlock the potential of the Caribbean people, a people shaped by a legacy of colonialism, slavery, and resistance, and to support their development in a world where traditional boundaries are rapidly disappearing. Now, I want to get into the theme now of my particular presentation, which is rhythms of the soul. And allow me, therefore, to talk about this in terms of my reflection of how musical subcultures in Trinidad and Tobago and Ghana can inform responsible innovation and inspire self-actualization through higher education. So in Trinidad and Tobago, let me see if I can get my slides going. There is, we have an oral tradition that is rooted in the African experience. And what they gave us was this whole concept of storytelling that Maya, right, has given us the, introduced us to. Let me see if I can get the slides going. Next week. Right, so you may know that one of our greatest griots is a Calypsonian called Lord Kitchener. And he celebrated Ghana's independence in 1957. And let me see if I can get his right, let me see if I can get him. There's no sound, unfortunately. So what he did is he created a calypso called The Birth of Ghana. And he said, this day will never be forgotten. The 6th of May, 1957, Ghana is the name, will be jolly, merry, and gay.
I have written and recorded a song entitled Ghana, of course.
Can we hear it?
Right now?
Yes, please.
So Ghana is the name, Ghana, we wish to proclaim, we will be jolly, merry, and gay. The 6th of March, Independence Day, Dr. Nkrumah went out his way to make the Gold Coast what it is today. He endeavored continually to bring us freedom and liberty. So Ghana is the name, Ghana, we wish to proclaim, we will be jolly, merry, and gay. The 6th of March, Independence Day.
Right. So that's one part of our musical heritage. The other part is the percussive instruments which we saw today. So the drum came across from the west coast of Africa to the region, and unfortunately, after emancipation, the drum was banned in my country because of certain implications to society. So what we did is we became innovative, and we created a new instrument called the tambo bamboo. Let me see if I can get it now. Right, oh, there it is. Right, so this is based on bamboo stalks which are cut at different lengths and stamped on the ground, which allows the sound to happen. And from this tambo bamboo, we went to a new instrument, which obviously most people would know. It's called the steel band or the steel pan. And let me just read something that an author in Trinidad said. Dr. Dawn Batson writes, "The steel pan is the latest link in a chain stretching from the African drum to modern Trinidad, reclaiming space in a society where access to artistic expression was historically denied to the underprivileged. Today, panyards are becoming learning spaces, spaces of rote learning, peer mentorship, music literacy, and an increasing community upliftment process." So let me show you what the panyards look like. Oops, going too far. Right, ooh. Right, so this is what the panyards look like, and this video shows a young lady playing the steel pan. Right, so for me, I have always been interested in the steel pan, but I was never able to get to learn it. And so after 63 years on this earth, I decided to go to a class in a steel pan yard because these spaces are now becoming accessible to persons like myself, to young people who wanting to learn music, but more importantly, they come in for vacation classes, they're coming for some of extra hours of teaching in the space. So the spaces are transforming themselves into spaces of learning which are totally different from the classroom. And I want to now go into what is the challenge for the Global South. So many people are leaving school feeling unrecognized and unsure of their talents. They believe they are not good at anything simply because they haven't excelled in what is considered important in the classroom. And so therefore you find that there is a disconnect with persons going through our education system and not being able to find their true potential. And I think Margaret, she talked about soul, the ambassador talked about soul, and that's what we want to talk about, connecting with the human soul. So I just now want to go into what is happening in the music scene of Ghana, which is, I think it's hip life and drill, which is popular among the youth. And these spaces are, these activities are activities of self-expression. So like songs like Sorry, and I'm sorry if I brutalize the name of the artist, Yatag. He talks about getting money with no degree. And that points to self-made paths outside of formal education. But these songs echo the sentiments of youths across Trinidad to Kumasi: resilience, ambition, and cultural pride born of struggle. However, when I looked further, I saw artists like Black Sheriff. And in his song Countryside, he also speaks of the emotional cost of success. And that is because you're going to find that people who find you successful want to be a part of that sort of aura of success without even having done anything to be successful. So you find artists who become successful, they want to draw back from the spotlight. So in Countryside, Black Sheriff says, "If you see me outside and I no greet you, no vex, I dey on my own." Meaning that he has to now come back to himself to understand what is important to him in his life. So it points to the fact that education has to come into the mix to talk about that connection between self-awareness and self-actualization with the human being. So we have to begin to think about reimagining access and inclusion as more than physical entry into institutions. We must empower learners to discover themselves. Self-awareness leads to self-actualization, and that is the ability to live purposefully, creatively, and with authenticity. So where does responsible innovation come with this? And I just have about 5 key areas or suggestions where we can begin creating responsible responses to this process of coming back to yourself. So creative curriculum design, developing interdisciplinary programs such as music, identity, and development, or mental health and entrepreneurship in the music industry. The second is embedding local genres in formal study. That's like incorporating soca, reggae, and hip life into sociology or political science curricula, affirming cultural identity for the persons who are going through those programs. The third is you could start developing cultural incubators or innovation labs which allow students to develop beat-making processes, mixtape production, storytelling, indigenous tech. Well, Maya has already started that process in terms of bringing that into KUniversity. So that's what you call a groundbreaking connection. So we will have storytellers on our social media very soon. And a fourth area is the actual innovation. So in Trinidad and Tobago, we have gone from the steel band, and I have not moved my slides a bit. We have gone from the steel band to the G-pan, which was under the auspices of Professor Brian Copeland. So he merged traditional steel band design with cutting-edge acoustics. And now we have an E-pan, which is an electronic pan with MIDI capabilities, expanding musical possibilities. So on the E-pan, you can play different instruments. So it's not just the pan sound you hear. You could hear, if it's guitar or piano, whatever, that the E-pan allows you to do that. So you could become your own little entertainer in any environment. And soon we will have AI-generated music in local dialects. And that is a way of preserving our heritage because a lot of our dialects are disappearing, languages are disappearing. So this allows us to now preserve our heritage. And finally, we can create digital platforms for cultural dialogue. So the podcast that the e-learning center is doing is a part of that process. We could create archives for learners to remix ancestral rhythms, explore local histories, and promote intergenerational knowledge exchange. So I am currently working on a project, I call it the Tragaric Road Ramescape, and it's really mixing virtual reality with sound. And the project allows me to capture the sound of a particular street in Trinidad where carnival usually happens. It's called Tragaric Road, where the steel bands go along the road. But I'm not doing the visual capture only. I'm capturing the sounds you would hear when you go into that space. So you will hear the pans tuning up and playing. You would hear people talking about what bands they would like to support. And this gives someone who has not had that experience the chance to go through that, that experience in Trinidad if you can't make it to Trinidad. So in conclusion, I invite our educators, technologists, policymakers to reimagine responsible innovation, not just as a question of tools and techniques, but of values and vision. Let us embrace music cultural subcultures not as extracurricular noise, but as legitimate pathways to knowledge, self-awareness, and purpose. Let us revisit the legacy of UWI's extramural department, which understood that art and culture are central to education, not adjuncts to it. Let us, above all, listen for the rhythms of the soul, the deeper pulse of our people, especially our youth, and use every tool at our disposal to help them to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very interesting presentation, Dr. Karen Roseman. We really appreciate that. A round of applause one more time for Karen. We have a journal that I would like to introduce to all of you. I'm going to invite Professor Datsun Nawinyo Vitor, who is representing the Pro Vice Chancellor, who had to dash out for a very quick official engagement.